Given the steady trickle of states legalising medical marijuana, you could be forgiven for assuming that pot use is increasingly a non-issue for the law. But guess again. In a comprehensive article in the Huffington Post this weekend, Ryan Grimm and Ryan Riley revealed just how aggressive the Obama administration has become in fighting pot. In your article, you write about the Ogden memo. I think that's as good a place to start as any. Can you just explain what the Ogden memo was?
That was a memo that the Department of Justice put out in the fall of 2009, which more or less was an attempt to codify what first Obama had said as a presidential candidate and then Holder had backed up as Attorney General, namely that the federal government was not going to go to war against medical marijuana, that if individuals were in compliance with state law, then the Department of Justice would use its limited resources in more productive ways.
So at the moment, we've got 18 states and plus the District of Columbia where legislatures have legalised medical use of marijuana. What's the status quo in those states vis-a-vis the federal government now?
Well, I mean, there's no protection. The Ogden memo is not going to get you out of federal charges, and if you do get arrested, the chances are very good that you won't even be allowed to mention that the federal government had a certain policy with regard to medical marijuana, and you might not even be allowed to mention that you were complying with all local and state laws. So people are, as we speak, getting sentenced to extremely long terms in federal prison, even who were in complete compliance with state law. The story of Chris Williams, who's this Montana medical marijuana provider who was arrested and charged with drug trafficking, and the amazing thing was that the judge would not even allow he ruled that the defense attorneys could in no way mention the existence of the federal policy. Right, and we actually found out about that case because investigators working for the defense team emailed me and said, hey, you were the first one to report on Attorney General Holder saying that he was going to back off medical marijuana, just as Obama had promised. And in our state courts, you need the reporter to testify as kind of a first-hand witness because they can't just submit a URL to HuffPost as evidence. I was willing to do that, and especially because they said that the court would cover the travel costs. But then they emailed back later and said, forget it. Not only can you not testify, we're not allowed to subpoena you, but we're not allowed to even mention that the federal government even debated whether or not they would enforce federal marijuana laws in states where it's legal. And you can't even mention that it's legal on the state level. So all the jury is allowed to know is that this person was buying and selling massive amounts of an illegal drug.